My name is Tista Kassergod, and I am your host for these Fireside Chats with Leaders and Innovators, a chat with people who are making a difference in our community and have had many significant accomplishments. This is a conversation regarding the views of leaders in different occupations in our community. Today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Anish Ramakrishna, and to our wonderful viewers, Anish is an amazing size-inclusive fashion designer who founded Currently in 2017. She's also a star of Bravo TV's new show, Family Karma. AnishDidi, thank you for joining me today over Zoom for a fireside chat. I'm sure hearing about your accomplishments will really inspire our listeners and we'll all benefit from your advice. So I'll just begin by asking some questions, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your responses. So I'd love to begin by discussing Currently, which is your online clothing brand. So you had been working professionally in fashion in New York when you decided you wanted to start Currently. What first made you want to start your own brand, and why did you pick eco-consciousness as one of your goals?
So I'm an entrepreneur in my heart. I grew up wanting to own my own business. I just didn't know it was going to be a fashion business. I just knew I wanted to have something that was my own. And so basically it just came to me. I was working in the fashion industry and I saw a gap because one of my best friends in the industry is a designer, a head designer for a high-end apparel line, and she designs these beautiful dresses, and she's a size 26, but whatever she designs they don't sell in her size. So I thought that was
Okay.
crazy that here's a
Yeah.
designer designing for a label and she can't wear her own design because it's not being produced in her size. So most lines go from 0 to 14, and so I thought, let me research plus size clothing. I don't really like the terms plus size clothing, but that's what we call it in the
Mhm.
industry. And so basically I spent a year working specifically on plus size clothing. That's when I launched Currently. It was just a plus size clothing line in 2017. And then I went on a trip to Australia in October, and I
Mhm.
went to the Great Barrier Reef,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was just inspired. I stopped eating animals after that trip. I come from a strict Hindu vegetarian home, but I
Okay.
always ate meat. And
Me
so,
too.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. A chicken wing tastes really good. It's not like I don't like the taste anymore. I just
Right.
stopped eating meat. I was just mesmerized by the reef. And that's where, you know, the eco-conscious part of my business, the sustainability factor came in. So a lot of brands in the fashion industry, they'll produce maybe 10 styles, but what you don't see is the sampling. They must have sampled maybe 100 to
Mhm.
get to those 10 styles. And that's one way of waste. That's wasting a
Right.
lot of fabric, garments, and dyeing processes and working with factories that aren't fair trade or fair wage. So I made sure that, you know, currently we just launched our astrology collection.
Yeah, I
That
saw it.
included, yeah,
Beautiful.
that, thank you. That included 12 styles. So we only sampled 12 styles. We didn't make any more,
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't going to work off of a pre-order strategy, but then
Mhm.
the pandemic came as I was
Right.
launching my collection. So I thought, we don't know what's going to happen. And as a business owner, I have to make financially sane decisions as well. And so I didn't want to produce, like hundreds of styles when we really didn't know what was going to happen. Like, people are staying home. It is a dress line.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know what? People who know me, who know the brand, who want to support me, they will wait. They will wait a month and order the dresses. And that's what we did. Rather than producing clothing in advance and wasting product. So I've gotten so much good feedback.
That's amazing.
And, basically just educating the customer on how to measure yourself so you minimize returns, because returns account for, so much waste in shipping and in e-commerce. And I get it, but part of my job also as a business is to educate the customer. So I think what's great about social media is I have a dialogue and a communication with my audience. I'm able to speak to them. In this time, things are just so uncertain.
Yeah.
And I am a startup and I bootstrap my business, which means, I fund the business myself. I don't have any investors, so it's my savings.
Well, I like that you've kind of kept in mind the pandemic when you've planned your line, and I noticed you made a YouTube video for how to tie the sash for, I think, the
Yes.
Leo dress. And I thought that was really amazing because you don't really see designers going out of their way to help their consumers relate and use their like dresses, but you have made sure that your line is really like something that customers can wear and see themselves wearing, you know?
Absolutely. And I didn't know how to tie it even though I designed it. So I was like, I have to figure this out, make a video too. And all my dresses come with a mask, matching
I like
masks.
that, yeah. So what does feminism mean to you, and how do you feel feminism relates to the size inclusivity of your brand?
So to me, feminism isn't like, oh, we're against men. I think
Exactly.
like it's like stop making it that. It's not about men, okay? Like let's take men out of the equation. Feminism is about females, female empowerment, being comfortable with who you are, feeling good about yourself and speaking your mind. And if you don't feel good about yourself, having a community to be able to talk about things and just expressing yourself. I don't think it's this thing of like, oh, we're here to like fight men.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
isn't about men. Like, stop making it about men. Everything's already like, involving men. Like, let us have feminism. That's what it is to me. And with my brand, you know, it's a big conversation. We talk about body positivity, which is like, a buzzword. I don't like using buzzwords. I don't like using the word sustainability. And right now, a lot of brands are just slapping that word on their website or on their product when we don't really know what's going on. I guarantee you anyone can come, inspect my business, inspect my factory, surprise inspect us. We are sustainable. And people don't know the term greenwashing. Basically, it means a lot of people are using those words, those trendy words, but they're not really doing anything. They're just saying it. And so I want to say that currently we're not greenwashing. We're doing everything we can to, make sure we're ethical, we're environmentally, safe with our product, and we're sustainable. But I don't like using those words. But back to your question, feminism for my brand is basically including all women, all females. Anyone can wear my clothes. That's what I love about it. Anyone can go buy our clothes. Now, I will, talk about the elephant in the room. Are my dresses $5? No, they're not. But we're a small business and we pay our employees and we are fair trade, fair wage. Sustainable fabric is very expensive. Recycled fabric is expensive. Just like for some reason you go to the grocery store, organic is more expensive.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Our fabrics are pricey. Sustainable recycled fabric is expensive.
I noted that a few of your designs take maybe a little inspiration from Prabhu Gurung with the beautiful bright colors, fabrics you use. Is he one of your fashion inspirations?
Yeah, I've actually mentioned this before. Prabal is he's one of my inspos. But to be honest, for this collection, I wasn't inspired by him in particular. But it's funny you say that. For this particular collection, I was actually inspired by Alberta Ferretti.
Okay.
And Dior.
Oh wow.
And the bright colors, let's be honest, okay, it's those were the Pantone spring 2020 colors. Everyone's using those colors. Yeah. That's in the trend report.
I can clearly see celebrities wearing your designs on the red carpet, especially as media becomes more diverse and size inclusive. No problem. So which celebrities would you love to see your dresses like them wearing it?
I'd love to see Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
Of course, being an Indian woman who is in the public eye, and she's a funny girl. I love, funny women. And talk about representation, she's led the way for so many of us as women, because we have Kalpen, we have Russell Peters, but she's a woman, right? We talked about feminism,
Right.
you know, so I'd love to see her in one of my dresses. That would be a dream.
Hmm. That would be amazing. And I think
Yeah,
she could just pull off everything.
she looks good in everything. Yes,
Yeah.
she makes it look easy, and she loves bright colors.
So now I'd love to get into Family Karma. So you star in Bravo TV's new show Family Karma, and it is the first reality show to feature an all-Indian cast. And while our viewers may be disappointed to hear that we cannot discuss behind the scenes or production, I'm excited to hear how you believe the show has helped bring more diversity and normalization of Indian culture to Western media.
Well, I think the fact that you had, someone talking about, for example, me freezing their eggs, an Indian woman talking about freezing their eggs on television, getting pressure about being mid 30s, living at home, not married. Then
Mhm.
you have an openly gay Indian man on Family
Right.
Karma. Then you have a couple that, they don't know if they're going to get engaged or get married, and there's pressure again, the cultural pressure.
Mhm.
And then you have, someone who's been divorced, which we don't talk about that in our community.
Right.
And so you have all these like really unique stories that may be normal to non-Indians, but it's a big deal in the brown South Asian community to have, these open discussions. And so I think what I've seen after Family Karma, first of all, the amount of love and support, everyone that's gathered together, because we do have this, you know, mindset. We do think in our culture that we're all competitive and
Mhm.
we're all fighting against each other. And so we've all grown up kind of with that mentality, right? That we don't support each other. And to see the outpouring of support from fellow brown South Asian women has been just, it's proven me wrong, you
Right.
know? And then to see people share their stories with me as
Mhm.
well, telling me they can relate to me, and they're either a single woman or even they're married and they still like have these arguments with their mom, so I think we have opened the floor for discussion, because we've had icons like Mindy Kaling and Kalpen, who have led the way, Hassan Minaj,
Mhm.
they have led the way for us to even be on TV.
Mhm.
I do think Family Karma has started discussions in homes.
Okay.
People would tell me that they're talking about the episode with their family.
Right, I watch it with my mom.
Yeah.
And so to me, questioning a woman, as you mentioned earlier, is like really common in the Indian community, and it can be harder for older generations to grasp that work is something a woman can be truly passionate about, and starting a family can always follow. And you are someone who's interested and inspiring young girls to be passionate about their work and focus on being career driven, which I admire. So how
Thank
do you
you. You're so kind.
how do you feel about the stigmas that are placed on women being the perfect Indian girl?
I think at some point you just have to ignore it. But I will say, you asked me, how do I feel?
Mhm.
For a long time, I was very insecure about it, in that I felt like I was extra defensive and I would show up as extra confident, or maybe sometimes cocky, or
Mhm.
maybe I give off a vibe that I'm entitled. And that's because I do feel like, who else is going to do that for me when we have these stigmas? And so, people in my personal life have told me, like, Anish, sometimes you should take it down a notch. And I'm like, I'm not going to, because
Mhm.
maybe that's my defense mechanism for the stigmas, because I'd be lying to you if I told you I don't think about it. I do think about it, and it does, it is in the back of my head. And so what I've done to deal with it is to, make light of it. We all joke about it,
Yeah.
and to also talk about it. Talking about it makes me feel better. And I do that on Instagram. I talk about everything. It's therapy for me. And also having these discussions, which you see even in my Instagram with my mom, telling her, it's not everything, or, talking to other people who are in the same position who might be experiencing the same thing. I think we need to just let people be and let everything happen for people in their own time.
Right.
And we should just worry about ourselves. And if you are going to talk to someone about them, maybe ask how they're doing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
As I was watching the show with my mom, I could see that you are very close to your mom as well. So how would you say your mom, Auntie Chitra, has inspired you to be a strong, independent Indian woman?
So even though my mom has traditional values, it's odd because she didn't raise me to be the traditional Indian girl. So I grew up in a home where my mom and dad were constantly telling me that I need to work, that I need to make something of myself, that nothing in life is going to be free, that all the
Very common.
Ramakrishnas work, and that's how we've come up in life, and you better get to work. And, they didn't really talk about getting married or boys or dating or cooking. My mom cooked, and I only developed an interest in food and cooking when I moved to New York. And you start, cooking for yourself. And that's when I realized I'm like a huge foodie and I love cooking. But growing up, I still don't know how to make chapatis, which is our Indian flatbread. I still don't know how to make, coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. And, we were taught to clean the house and, set the table and be polite and be educated, but we didn't learn those domestic things that a lot of Indian families teach girls. And so I tell my mom, I'm like, now you want all these things, but you didn't raise me like this. So my mom actually raised me, my dad as well. I remember my dad was very big on working and studying and earning your own money. So now I'm like, this is how you raised me. What did you think was going to happen? And I think that's something else we discuss in our culture, right? It's like work, study, get married. And then when the get married comes, you're like, what? Excuse me? We never talked about this.
Would you say being from like a second generation immigrant, like would you say being a second generation immigrant has had any impact?
I'm an immigrant.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I was born in India, yeah.
So were you ever encouraged to do something apart from fashion?
See, I was very blessed again because my family knew I was creative, and I joked about this in another interview. My family was like, do not be a doctor. You will kill someone. Like, do not. I mean, I did well in science. I got A's. But to be honest, I knew I didn't like touching people and blood and skeevy for me. And I commend doctors because it's very hard. But I will say, I know my strengths as a person, and so did my parents. They knew I was creative. And I was actually, very practical. I'm a very practical person, and I wanted to study finance because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Right. So I took sewing classes. I did art classes. My parents enrolled me in art. I had a private art teacher come to the house. My parents knew I was an artist. And so I always, had creativity in the house as well. My mom is very creative. But as far as education, I knew that the creativity was in me, and I needed to learn, about numbers and math and finance and business. And that's what I did. And so I was the one who actually decided to go to business school. My dad was like, you should go to Paris and learn fashion design. And I wanted to go into finance.
But it's all worked perfectly because here you are with your own brand, and it's amazing what you've done.
Thank you so much. Not gonna lie, there are days as a small business owner, you're like, why am I doing this? But I wouldn't change it. I love what I do.
It's amazing. I just have a question regarding gender equality. So, what are your observations regarding gender equality in the fashion industry and television, and how has awareness of sexual harassment and the Me Too movement had a long-term change for you in society?
I mean, forget, there's so many issues, right? There's
Right.
gender equality, but then being in the fashion industry, there's also inequality, period. Like,
Mhm.
we, first of all, I'm brown.
Uh-huh.
How many brown people are in the fashion industry?
Right.
Like, maybe on the supplier side, I always say there's like Indian factories, but how many are actually on the design side? Like the face of a brand? Like none.
Yeah.
And gender inequality, I think, I have friends and they own brands and they're making, changes in their businesses, but I would say we have a long way to go. It's
Okay.
we have a long way to go, in my opinion. We haven't even scratched the surface on gender inequality.
Okay. I
Yeah.
I think there's just always something you can do, in the
Yeah.
future. There's always something.
I mean, yeah, like you can always do your part,
Uh-huh.
but as a country, there's a lot more
Right.
that needs to be done. I mean, the stories I hear, the other day I was talking to someone and
Mhm.
they're scared. They're scared to, come out,
Oh,
you know.
I have
People
friends.
are scared. People are scared because things are happening.
Mhm. This
It's not
country,
safe.
this country is definitely needing some change. A lot of it, actually.
We need people to feel safe.
I agree. So I would love to lastly hear some advice you have for students to be successful in the future. So how have you managed to maintain a balance between acting, work, family, and running currently?
Sometimes I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But I'd say uh, for me, it all changed once I started having a routine with the controllables. There are things you can't control. Like someone could call me next week and say, hey, we want you to do this. And I didn't plan for it, but having peace of mind. So meditation,
Hmm.
controlling what you can. So I control, I can meditate. I can choose to be calm.
Hmm.
I can exercise because I never exercised in my life. And I started exercising and all my migraines went away. I just started feeling better. I started sleeping well.
Hmm.
I, started drinking a gallon of water every day. That helped. So I think what I'm getting into is basically health. So if you take care of you first, and that goes for mental health too,
Hmm.
if you're okay, I think you can tackle anything.
That's amazing advice.
If you're feeling good
Hmm.
and you're taking care of you, then the world is, the opportunities are endless. You can conquer anything. I really feel that way. And a positive mindset. We talk about it lightly, like stay positive. I believe in the law of attraction and I
Me too.
follow, affirmations, the power of your words, change your thoughts, change your life. Your
Hmm.
thoughts become your actions. You are what you think. And so, you know, thinking good thoughts, very hard to do actually.
Hmm.
Staying, you know, positive and believing in yourself and visualization, knowing what you want for yourself, uh, that helps too.
Hmm. And my last question is, what do you find most enjoyable in your free time, whether it is to de-stress or just for fun? Personally, I love singing in my car very loudly.
That's so lovely. I love singing too. I would say there's nothing more that I love than if, we have a big chunk of time. Now we can't really travel. I love to travel.
Hmm.
And if, I just have free time like this weekend, there's nothing more fun for me than to chill with some delicious food and watch something amazing on television because I actually don't watch TV. I don't have, you know, I don't want to say ADD. I don't have the attention right now these days to be able to focus on like a show or a movie because there's just too much going on. So
Mhm.
I had a off day on Saturday and I was just able to sit and watch a movie. I watched Abhishek Bachchan's new
Oh, my mom just
thriller.
watched that. Yeah.
Terrifying. Don't watch. But yeah, it was very nice, and I was just able to be in my room,
Mhm.
with the under the covers, eating some delicious, ramen noodles,
Oh, love
the
ramen.
99 cents ones, and yeah, I just really enjoyed myself.
Well, thank you
And some
so much.
badam halwa made by my grandma.
Ooh. Oh,
Delish.
are they back from India? Because in the
Hmm.
show we saw, okay.
Yeah, they've been back.
That's good. So thank you so much for your time today. I've enjoyed this conversation, and I'm grateful for you that you took the time out of your busy schedule to join me, as I know it will inspire many. And thank you to those of you watching for listening to our fireside chat today. You can check out Anisha's designs at shopcurrently.com and watch Family Karma on Bravo TV. Also, make sure to follow her on Instagram at Anish Ramakrishna. And please look out for more Fireside Chat episodes in the future. Don't forget to post your comments below and subscribe. Um,
Thank you, and kudos to you for doing this.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and you're
Thank
so funny. I love that.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.